Hello, beautiful souls. I am Valeria Maritza, your host here at Healing Through You. I am an infinite being of light, and so are you. Today, I have a wonderful guest. Her name is Tenya Eickenberg. She is also an energy healer, and she really focuses on being able to release past traumas and things that are holding us back as women. Well, everybody really, but we hold on to a lot of emotional baggage, and this is one of her specialties. So I am so excited to welcome her in. Yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna bring her right in right now. Welcome, Tina. I am so excited to have you here on my podcast. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm amazing. Nice fall day outside. A little rain.
Yep.
Okay, so let's just get right down to it. You're an energy healer, and I want to ask you how did you get into this? Like, did you do this all throughout your life, or is this something that came later?
This energy healing originally came into my life probably around 2015, 2016. But it was only acupuncture at the time that came into my life because I was having lower back problems. Um, just trying to work through all of that as naturally as I could. Um, Turns out I had a vertebrae that was actually fusing together on its own, so I had to have surgery to kind of stabilize that.
Oh,
Um, and apparently I'm one of the few that surgery has done very well for. It was one of the best things I ever did for my lower back. But fast forward to 2018, it was a huge year for our family. Our twins were graduating from high school. My husband and my oldest was graduating from college. We sold our home that we raised our kids in and bought our forever home off of the Chesapeake Bay. And it was just a wonderful, busy, fun-filled year. And I had suffered with anxiety and depression throughout my entire life, off and on, went on medication, came off medication, went to therapy, came out of therapy. It was just a roller coaster all the time. But I learned to stuff and compartmentalize, disassociate. I became a high functioning chronic anxiety and depression filled person. You wouldn't know it from the outside because I kept it together all the time. I didn't have panic attacks, anything like that, until I would get home and then have crying spells or worry moments of just, I need to just step away from everybody.
this is
And
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is so common. It
it
feels,
is,
especially for women because we're super moms, super,
right,
we take care of
right.
everything. And it's like there's no room to catch our breath, and but we just do it. We just do it because, right?
We do. And I think it's common for everybody because if you look at men, how many men do you see feeling their feelings, allowing themselves to be sad or be worried? Like they're okay being mad, right? You see a lot of men show their anger, but you don't really see them show when they're sad, when they're in grief, when they're worried about something, because those are feelings that men are told not to have. Just be a man.
Yeah, yeah. Society that like don't show
Right.
their weakness. Yeah, you're right.
Right. And women feel like they have to measure up to that so that they can look strong. And so, yeah, definitely society has trained us as humans to just stuff things down and become robots and do what we need to do to get things done and just quote unquote go with the flow.
Yeah, I mean, just out of the top of my head, I can think of like so many people who are in that space, and I was there too. You were there,
Yep.
so yeah, it's so common.
Yeah. Problem is, you go with the flow for too long because you're stuffing things down. Eventually, it's going to come back up, and it's going to be horrific for you. and horrific is different for everybody. And how it played out for me was after we moved into our new home and we got settled and things started to quiet down, my anxiety and depression kept knocking on the door like, hello, like, welcome to the neighborhood. We're here to, welcome you. And like, can we come in and talk? They were like the new friendly neighbor that wanted to come in and discuss things and clear the air before we got into a really good relationship type of thing. And I was like, no, I'm really not ready to meet people. Like, it's winter time. I just want to hibernate. And then summer came around and I started smoking again. I started drinking again to minimize how much they wanted to come in and associate with me. I kind of look at them now as like that annoying neighbor that keeps coming around that you just kind of pleasantly, um, you're cordial with, but you have nothing in common with them. So you avoid, you avoid them.
Yeah, yeah.
And so went through the summer, stuffing stuff down. Fall came, kept doing it. Winter came, and we didn't go outside as much, so there wasn't as many opportunities to stuff things down with party favors.
Mhm.
And by March, I was like, I really need help. I'm either going to run myself into a telephone pole so that I can get some time off from work. Because I was, worried about taking time off of work because, like, I wasn't sure if I had enough vacation time. That whole financial part worried me about, can I take time off to take care of myself? And it was just, I had to do something. So I went the traditional routes at first because that's what I really knew. That's what I always fell back on. So I got in touch with a doctor. Now, this was during COVID. So this is when everything was starting to be online.
Mhm.
So I went through my insurance to make a doctor's appointment because my doctor was not doing televisits yet. My doctor wasn't doing any visits. So I met with this doctor and it was a 15-minute appointment. And his questions were the typical mental health questions. He asked me, have you ever thought about hurting yourself? And I said, no. I just feel tired and I feel sad all the time. And the reason I didn't tell him was because it was a 15-minute appointment. I didn't trust him. I didn't know him.
Yes. They ask me those questions, after you have your child, they ask you that for the
Yeah,
postpartum depression. And I know what it was. And I'm like, why would I say no? I mean, why would I say yes? Like, I,
right,
I, I could have that feeling, but why would I say that? Like, I don't want to go into, yeah, it's
right.
difficult to ask for help.
It is because not society, but media,
Mm-hmm.
movies, TV shows, music have shown us that asking for help doesn't always get you the results that you want. And oftentimes you're kind of pushed away because people don't know how to help you, which is really, really sad in the world that we live in now, and the education that we can all receive in mental health, right? So we go to these mental health professionals for a reason. But so it's 15-minute conversation. They asked me what medications I had been on before. I told them. They're like, how do you think they worked? And I told them. They said, okay, well, let's try, the last one you were on. It would also help you to quit smoking. So, it'd be, two birds, one stone. So let's try that. And I was like, okay. And then I found a talk therapist and started treatment. And about 4 weeks into it, my talk therapist was like, okay, I think that you have PTSD from your childhood, because of course we had talked about my parents and my upbringing and all that stuff, and she was thinking that that's where all of this was coming from. And it was just the same playbook that I had had with every other therapist. And I love therapy. I think that talk therapy is a wonderful tool. But when you feel like your therapist is coming from a playbook. And it's been the same routine with every therapist that you have ever been to. Now, and I hadn't been to that many, I'd only been to 3 or 4. Um,
You already learned that it was a script.
right, exactly, exactly. But I had been to therapy sessions with my mom, and they had been very similar. And so she's like, okay, well, why don't we try CBT training? Here's a CBT app that you can download, it's free, and just follow what it says in the app. And I was like, "Oh, this is so not what I was looking for."
Uh-huh.
I was looking for somebody to help fix me. And a few more weeks went by and I had the follow up with the doctor, and I was like, look, I don't feel as much worry and anxiousness. I'm still having some crying spells, but they're not like they were. I don't feel as frustrated, but I don't feel happy either. Like I'm just whatever. I'm still tired all the time. And he's like, okay, well, maybe we need to up your medication. Why don't we up it to this? And I'll see you back in 6 to 8 weeks. And now that I remember when I go back, and this really just popped in my head, it was actually not the same doctor I saw the first time.
Mm.
Because this was still during COVID. I met with another doctor who was available for that appointment. So it wasn't even the same doctor. And I was like, I got off the phone. I was like, this, this is not going, this is not going to work. This is not what I want. I'm not going to stay on this roller coaster, because I was still smoking. I was still drinking. I was still, you know, just stuffing things down.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat at my desk and I cried, and I was just like, God, give me something that is going to get rid of this, that is going to allow me to thrive in life instead of just surviving with whatever this is. And I Googled holistic emotional healing once I'd gathered myself up. And the first thing that popped up was the emotion code.
Oh, I love the emotion code.
Yeah. And I was like, the emotion code. Okay. So I clicked on it, just, doing my research. And I was like, okay, they're going to find emotions trapped somewhere in my body using their fingers, like muscle testing.
Huh?
And they're going to use a refrigerator magnet to go over the top of their head to release it.
Uh-huh.
Okay, what Kool-Aid have I had to drink today? And, and,
It's
I,
not for everybody.
and I was a total skeptic, because I was like, well, I'm not taking any pills. They're not asking me to change my diet. I'm not, I don't have to talk about anything.
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right. What do I have to lose but like a couple $100 for a session or two, right? So I found practitioner who was on YouTube, and I made an appointment with him, and it wound up being with his wife because she was in training to get her body code certification, which was the second level.
Uh-huh. This is with
And
Dr. Bradley Nelson, right?
right,
Yeah.
yes.
Uh-huh.
And so she was like, hey, I know you booked an emotion code session, but I'm getting my certification. Is it okay if I use the body code on you? I'm like, yeah, like that's better. Okay. And so she did the session. It was over the phone because she was in Utah. And it was just like, I got off the phone and I was like, oh, I feel better. I feel lighter. Huh. And I just kind of sat with it. I was just like, this is, and I had a list of all the emotions and stuff that she had worked on and what ages they were. And like I looked back and I was like, well, I kind of know where that's from. And
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, how did she do that? And a couple days went by and that light feeling started to go away.
Mhm.
And I fell into that story of, oh, maybe this didn't work. But I got the nudge to try it again. So I booked a session with a different practitioner. I
Okay.
joined some Facebook groups and found another practitioner that seemed popular in the group.
Okay.
because everybody was, commenting on her posts and everything. So I made an appointment with her, and she did a session, and she used also a modality called T3, which is now called the belief code through Discover Healing, because they purchased it. So they now have the emotion code, the body code, and the belief code. And so she did a session on me, lasted about half hour, 45 minutes. Got off the phone and I was like, I feel better than I did the first time. Wow, maybe she's better than the other practitioner. But I felt good. A couple days went by. Heaviness started coming back again, but it wasn't as heavy as it was the first time.
Mhm.
And I was like, And I knew that this was doing something, because this was the only thing I was doing. Because I had cold turkey stopped taking the medication, which I do not recommend to anybody. But if you have done it, you know that when you're in that space and you don't feel like something's working, you just stop cold turkey.
Yeah.
Um, so I knew that there was something to this. And Discover Healing was offering a webinar for $97, a 2-day webinar. And I was like, you know what? Let me hear what this is all about from the horse's mouth.
Mhm.
So I went to the webinar, and I was on the webinar while I was at work, because I was working from home at that point. And so I was like, I was doing my work while I was on the webinar, paying attention. And by the end of the webinar, I was like, I'm signing up for my certification. And
I love it.
I was doing it for myself, to learn how to do it myself, because
Mhm.
we were still in a position where um, we were not living financially comfortable as we would have liked at the time. Having, 3 kids that were all grown, we were both working, didn't really have to pay much for the kids anymore like we used to. But getting the certification and learning how to do it myself was a heck of a lot cheaper than $150 to $200 a week for a session with another practitioner. So I signed up, started practicing, working on myself, working on friends and family to get my certification. And within a month, I was done with that certification. I was feeling pretty good. So I signed up for the body code. I was like, may as well go all the way. And at that point, I was like, you know what? There's other people out there that might benefit from this. So I was like telling people about it on my Facebook page. And so I did the second certification. And then I found another modality called easy entity release. And that was another game changer for me, releasing offensive energies and entities that, like, I had never heard of. But
Okay.
again, this was all of this was still new to me.
You were
It
still
was,
going down that rabbit hole
yeah,
full force.
absolutely. And I was just like, you know what? 2 months ago, I didn't know that I had trapped emotions that could be released with a refrigerator magnet. And now I'm finding entities. I was a little blown away. But by beginning of October, I was I was about 80% healed from my anxiety and depression. I was starting to feel happiness again, and joy and laughter, and it was just this. When I finally released my heart wall, which was just a bunch of emotions that were blocking my heart, I woke up the next day and I was just in this euphoric space. And at one point, my husband even asked me, am I high? Not that I got high at all, but I was just like always this out in outer space, and just and I was smiling for no reason, just sitting there. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like I feel really light and really good. And he's like, "Okay, as long as you're okay." I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." But there was still something missing. Like I didn't feel 100%. And so I just knew that there was like conscious work, although that's not what I knew that's what it was called at the time. I had to do mind work. And so I was working with a coaching company, and they had stressed, you need to meditate twice a day for 10 minutes. You need to start journaling. You need to start working out every day, this whole list of things that um, successful people do. Because it was one of those coaching programs. Like, you want to be successful, this is what successful people do. And I had tried to meditate before energy healing. I had tried to journal and didn't journal for 10 years before that because my privacy had been invaded when I had journaled as a teenager. And so I didn't journal after that, not realizing that that was traumatic for me. And, trauma is big, trauma is small. Trauma is a big word and trauma gets thrown around a lot, but it is there. And it is different for a 13-year-old than it is for a 43-year-old. But what happens at 13 is carried with you until you're 43 if you don't address it and deal with it. So I did energy work around not being able to meditate, not being able to journal.
When you say energy work, you mean the emotion code using
Yep.
that? Okay.
The emotion code, the body code, and the easy entity release. Because when we are in those low vibration states, when we are feeling very sad and very undervalued and unworthy, that is when these energies really take hold. Whether you're trapping emotions or limiting beliefs or energetic toxins or entities or offensive energies, that's when they really take hold. And I learned that so the meditation, the journaling, what was self-care that I was missing. And that's why I teach my clients about energy work and self-care, because when you can do the outside mind work, when you can do the meditation, the journaling, learning to feel your feelings again, setting boundaries with people and yourself, because there's things that you want to accomplish, but there's outside forces that like to say, oh, no, 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 you don't need to do that. You got to set those
Sure.
boundaries. Having forgiveness, that was a huge one. Showing forgiveness and having forgiveness, especially for my parents, for the way that I was raised. Realizing, even though I had been a parent for 25 years at that time, my parents were new parents when they started becoming parents. They weren't given a handbook. They had to raise 4 kids off of the knowledge that they had. And I can't fault them for that. And I can't fault them for taking advantage of any new knowledge that was presented to them, because they weren't in the headspace to take on that new knowledge. And I'm not making excuses for my parents, because, they did cause emotional trauma and damage that I later had to work through. But I can't fault them for just doing what they knew and not knowing any better. But once I started to do that deliberate daily self-care, I had to make a schedule. I had to make room for it. Everything shifted. And by the end of December, I was 100% cured of my anxiety and depression. I say I'm 100% clean of chronic anxiety and depression, because it's never come back. I still have worry. I still get sad, but I don't hold on to it anymore. It takes about
Did
30, 40
this,
seconds.
that's amazing. You did this through the self-care and doing the work on yourself from
Yeah.
the webinars that you took and things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and this was all through learning
Mm-hmm.
energy work. I mean, it wasn't like I was proficient at it even by December. It was, it was still something that I was learning and practicing through, but I had never felt the way I felt when I released it all. Even when I had my kids, I didn't feel the joy I felt in December of 2020, which was, horrible feeling because when you have your kids, you think that that is the happiest moment of your life. When you get married, you think those are such joyous occasions. But I didn't feel the joy I felt when all that negative energy was gone and it was filled with good things, with happiness and joy and gratitude.
I
It
love
was
that.
life-saving and life-changing for me.
Yeah, I really, really love that you are sharing your really tender story. But you're saying I wasn't proficient. I was still learning. So that really gives a lot of hope to people who might want to try whatever rabbit hole they're going down
Right. Yeah.
and know that you don't have to know it all. You just have to start somewhere to and
Mhm.
if it's resonating with you, if it's working for you, then you go ahead and do it. Amazing.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, just start somewhere.
Hmm.
Energy healing may not be where you feel like starting, which is perfectly fine, but start somewhere. Mindset work works. It really does. But when you compare it with energy healing, it catapults it to a new level because you're getting rid of those blocks much quicker. And I know that this is still very new and very woo woo, but energy healing has been around for thousands of years.
For
I
sure.
feel
Yeah.
like these modalities, even new ones that keep coming up, have been done before, but it's a lost art.
Yeah, for sure. It
And
feels like it's been carried, like, it's like the ancestors' secrets, and then everybody's like, oh, that's, doesn't work. Let's go through this other path, and you forget about it. But now
right.
it's all coming back in all
Yeah.
different venues,
Yeah. And science is starting to catch up with it as well.
finally. It looks like we've lost Tinia. I'm going to stop this for a second. There we go. Hi again.
Where did we leave off?
um, Start somewhere. Oh, or energy healing is not for
Uh,
everybody.
right. Energy healing is not for everybody. Well, I
To start.
think it is for everybody, but
Yes,
right.
oh, we were talking
But
also
start.
the ancient, like the
Oh,
things that have,
yes,
yes.
yes. So start somewhere, you know, um, all of these energy modalities that are coming up have been here before. They're just being rediscovered so that new people are letting us know what they are. But start somewhere. Start with talking to somebody if you need to. Start with journaling. If you're afraid that it's going to be read, get one with a lock so that nobody can get into it. But start somewhere. And if you don't feel like you're in a place where you're going to get support, because that is, again, a huge factor in your healing journey is having support. My husband was not a believer in energy healing when I started. My kids were not. And, but they supported me. They're like, if you think it's going to work, you're not hurting yourself by doing it. You're not ingesting anything that's going to hurt you. Just go with it. And it it's like I said before, it's been a lifesaver for me.
Amazing. What did you start? When did you decide to start sharing this as a coach in teaching or helping people with the modalities that you learned, becoming a
Yeah.
practitioner?
Yeah, August of 2020, when I finished my body code certification, and I was just like, you know what, there are so many people out there, and I gravitated towards women because that's just at the time who I felt comfortable with. But at this point, I work with both men and women,
Hmm.
and it, I just knew that talk therapy did not work for everybody, that lots of people were struggling. And so I just took the leap and started telling people that, hey, I'm starting a business doing this and we'll see where it goes. Um, and I just did a podcast with my kids to kind of get their perspective on the last 4 years, how it was before I started healing, how it is now. Um, and my one daughter was like, "Well, I thought it was going to be like, Mary Kay or Pampered Chef or, one of the at-home businesses that I had done before, that would last a year or so,
Uh-huh.
and they're like, obviously this is not just a phase for you. This is something that I love doing. This was, something that I felt I really needed to share. And if clients see how I healed, if they see that, oh, well, maybe there's a chance that I can heal, but I'm not the right practitioner for them, I encourage them to find one that is.
Yeah.
Don't stop researching, don't stop reading, don't stop trying to find what is going to allow you to thrive in life. And just follow your heart, follow your gut.
Absolutely. This is one of the reasons that I do this podcast and I bring in so many different practitioners. A lot of them do very similar things to what I do. But that's exactly why, because it's like, if I'm not the one, but you're listening to me, perhaps you'll hear somebody else who is doing something different that sparks that interest in you and that allows you to go down that rabbit
Yeah.
hole for yourself. Like, oh, that still sounds too much woo woo. Oh, but this other thing might work for me, right? And
Right.
so like that's the goal, that for me, to bring all different peoples with different backgrounds and telling their stories so that the audience can see that we're all just regular people.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Just
are.
like you and me,
Yep.
we're just the same, and it's just taking that path down whatever it is that our heart or our soul is guiding us to go, and
Mhm.
that it starts to work so that we can have that power, that
Yeah.
our health is in our own hands.
Yeah. And I can remember talking about paths. I look back over my childhood through adulthood and I'm like, why didn't this stuff come into my awareness earlier? And the truth is that it did. My mom used to teach the kids in the neighborhood when we lived in England, would teach them meditation,
Mm-hmm.
but I ignored it.
Yeah,
Either I didn't
you
feel
weren't
like
ready.
I wasn't, I was 7 or 8 years old,
Mm-hmm.
but oh, we froze again.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
um, but and stuff came in during when I was a teenager, and The Secret was introduced to me in 2011, and I practiced that for a few years, and then I got away from it.
Mhm.
So energy work and the universe and all of this stuff has really been in my awareness for a very long time. But like you said, we're just not ready for it.
Yeah.
And when we are ready for it, it's gonna work like crazy.
Also, I don't think, like, collectively we weren't ready, because 20 years ago you didn't see podcasts or chats or talks of
Right.
so many people doing alternative medicine like you do now.
Yeah.
Like 20 years ago, if you had a practitioner that you went down this way, this to heal yourself, you wouldn't be feeling like, oh, maybe I'll go online and start a business, like, because it
Right.
was a lot more hush hush. It was a lot more like, that's weird type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We
The
yeah, we
hippies.
would have been called witches or part of a cult or
Oh, we still do.
something like that. I don't even maybe I just because I don't listen to it anymore. It's just like whatever.
This actually happened to me last year. My son was in Catholic school because we just went that way, and I got called in at one point, and they're like, "We have questions about your website," and it was a real modern day witch hunt, and I was like,
Wow.
"What? I can't believe this is happening." So yeah, it still happens, but the difference is that 20 years ago we would have been like scared, hiding, reclusing, apologetic. But now we're like, I mean, at least for me, I was like so grounded in what I knew and what I was
Right.
doing
Right.
that it didn't phase me. I mean, yeah, it bothered me because, he's still human, but
Right, right,
um,
exactly. Yeah.
but I still held my ground with love and light of like, hey, this is what I do, and this is
Yeah.
working, and I'm helping
Yeah.
so many people, and
Yeah.
so yeah, so we left the school. Obviously, it
Yeah.
was not a
Yeah.
good
I mean, you
match.
can't, right. I mean, they can't force their beliefs on us and vice versa. But the difference is that we don't want to force our beliefs on them, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it's interesting because I never spoke ever about what I did there, but
Yeah.
they went looking,
Yeah.
right? And then they were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we don't like this." Like, okay,
Well, it came into someone's awareness who needed
yes,
it. It was
yes.
a seed that was planted.
That's
And
exactly. I left there feeling the same. Oh my gosh!
yeah.
I'm like, I was the seed for these
Yeah.
people.
Yep, you were the seed for somebody,
Yeah,
and it may take 10 years for that seed to grow enough for them to go, "Oh, maybe I should look into this." Now, they're never gonna remember that you were the seed,
and that's not okay. I mean, that's
right?
okay. That's not a problem.
Because when we grow vegetables, do we really remember what seed it came from?
Right,
We don't.
right.
All we know is that it was planted and it grew this beautiful thing that we now get to enjoy and help nourish us. And that's exactly why we're here, is to plant those seeds so that the next generation can go, yeah, there's a way for me to do generational healing.
It's so true because a lot of the things that you mentioned, like the terms, like generational healing, like trapped emotions, what are these things? Like, yeah, like when you first start, like with me as well, no idea these things even existed or that they were something or that they were real,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
My favorite quote is believing is seeing, seeing isn't believing.
yeah, yeah, I love that.
And just because we can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It
Yeah.
just means that the science isn't there to show it on a piece of paper.
Mm. So, how does your family feel now that you're actually helping others doing this? I know your kids were like, "Oh, we thought it was going to be like a phase, but now it
Yeah.
isn't." But are they more open to it? Do they also receive healing from you, energy healing?
They do. My husband will ask me more often to work on something. If he's got a headache at work, he'll text me and go, "Hey, I've got a headache. Can you work on it?" My kids quite aren't there yet, but they have said that like if I find out that they're sick, I'll text them and be like, "Hey, why didn't you tell me you were sick? I could have worked on it." And I'll run an auto program for them that just helps clear stuff in the background. Or I get an email saying, a CVS receipt because they use my phone number to get the discounts, and
Uh-huh.
I'll just text them and go, "I worked on that." Um, so while they are open to it, they're not forthcoming about asking for help with it, but that's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
They're on their journey, and I struggled with that for the first couple years of being an energy healer. I'm like, why won't they let me work on them? Because all three of them were suffering with their own form of anxiety, and but they chose their path on how they were going to deal with it, and it's mostly healthy, not exactly what I would choose for them, but it's their path.
yeah,
And they're not hurting anybody, they're not hurting themselves, and so I just support them in any way that I can.
yeah. And sometimes it's just because you're their mom.
Yeah,
Yeah. My
right,
son,
exactly.
yeah. Yeah, my son also he had anxiety and he would like what's the word he would humor me but like
Yeah,
not much, and I actually got him a program from Eden Medicine, Dana Eden. I don't know if you've heard about her.
yep, yep,
She's amazing, and they had a children's program, so I bought it for him, and we did do it together, and he loved it, and he was all in because he was a mommy.
right. Yeah,
And it was like, this is exactly what I do. This is like,
yep,
like I know these things that they're teaching, but they're gearing it to the kids. And he felt special and he was a mommy. So he was open to receiving through that. And it's like, hey, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, if the person in front of you is not it, it's okay.
yeah,
Find someone else because the goal is for you to get help, right?
right,
And to
right,
get healed and
Yep.
thrive in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that I hope that everybody learns to put themselves first.
Yes.
That
Oh, that's such a
everybody
hard one.
that everybody really looks at their schedule and figures out where can I fit time in for me. When I first started doing self-care, it started with um now my kids were adults and I worked an hour away from home at the time, but I would leave an extra half hour early so that I could make sure that I meditated before I walked into work, or I would go for a walk in the city before I had to start work. I had to look at my schedule and figure out where can I fit in meditation and journaling and all this other stuff. And that's why it worked. That's why I was able to stick to it because I made it a priority. I made me a priority.
And for those who are out there thinking or feeling like I don't have any time, I was there too. When I
Mhm.
started, I hired a coach to help me, and she said you need to meditate for like 30 minutes a day. And I was like, I have 30 minutes. And I really, truly believed that I didn't have 30 minutes. I had a young child. I took care of him. I had a full-time job. I was exhausted, and when you need healing and you're feeling like life is you don't really
Yep.
have any energy to do anything.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And she's like,
Right.
you have to. And I was like, and then I did. And it took me about 8 days to get the routine
Mhm.
because I had made myself indispensable.
Right.
Like,
Right.
no one can do it like mommy. And so it was tough. Like, I would like, okay, I'm going to go meditate. And there would be like child crying at the door, noises outside my door, like loud, all these things. And I just kept doing it.
Yeah.
It was interrupted. But
Yeah.
then I realized, like, after a week, like, the noises had come down. My son realized that, oh, it's only half hour, mommy will be right back.
Yeah.
My husband realized that screaming right outside my door, telling my son that mommy's meditating was not helping.
I know I used to go into our walk-in closet, which was like because when you would walk in if I did it in my room, because I had a base or rooms in the basement, you could hear people walking in the living room. So I moved it to the walk-in closet. I got the headphones, like the noise
Yep.
canceling headphones, and because I wanted to do it in silence. I didn't want to do guided meditation. I wanted to do
Uh-huh.
silent meditation. And I just like did as much as I could to like drown. I stuff a blanket underneath of the door jamb, which is I didn't have little kid. I mean, I had like I told you before, the cats would come and cry at the door. And I would have to start blocking them out of the basement completely because they were worse than a 2-year-old, I think. But we did
Yeah.
what we had to do. We did what we knew we needed, as hard as it was, as
Hmm.
difficult as it was to make those changes.
Yeah. It's like
We
you made a
realized
decision and you did
yeah,
it. Like, I'm
yeah,
going to make it work.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for those who say, "I can't meditate," start with a minute. We all know, those of us who are regular meditators all know that even sitting for 1 minute when you've never meditated before is going to be hell.
Oh, for sure.
It's gonna be, because it's gonna feel like an hour. You're gonna keep feeling like you need to check to make sure you set your timer, but I promise you, you do that for a week and you'll be able to do 5 minutes the following week.
It's
So
because we're so used to the social media, the all of the things that are around, and
yeah,
then when you go quiet, it's like I can't be quiet.
yeah,
Like, it's scary to
it
be
is.
there in that space.
It's scary, yeah, because you have all these thoughts that kept start running through your mind, and you're just like, I thought meditation was about not thinking. And just so you know, even if you think about not thinking, you're still thinking. So
Right.
just let the thoughts come in and acknowledge that they're there, and then breathe them out. You can
Yeah.
always come back to those thoughts and go, "Why was I thinking that?"
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the things too that I thought that you have to have no thoughts. You have to be like empty, and it's literally impossible to do that.
Mhm. It
You
is.
know, it's
That's why
like
meditation can be so frustrating
Yeah.
because people are led to believe that you're supposed to sit there in silence and do nothing.
Hmm.
Well, the doing nothing is not really moving, not doing tasks. It's not having thoughts.
Yeah. It's just being.
It's just being.
That's
Just be
best being.
in the moment.
Hmm. Lovely. Well, this has been amazing. How can people get in touch with you?
Designyourexistence.com,
Okay.
and design your existence on all social medias. I do have a TikTok, but it's not active. But yeah, I'm all over social media at Design Your Existence.
Okay. Well, I will put all of your handles down on the description, so make sure that you go down there and check it out so that you can find Tenya, um, and follow her, get in touch with her, anything you need. Is there anything that you would like to share that I didn't ask you or that is coming up for you? Like, oh, I really would like, people, leave people with this last thought.
Yeah, I'll leave you with you're worth spending your time, your money, your heart. Put yourself first. It's not being selfish when you're doing it so that you can be there for others.
I love that. Very, very direct and so needed because that's what it feels like, like I can't
Hmm.
because that's selfish. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I'll say goodbye now. And we'll see you next time. I hope everybody really enjoyed this chat. I thoroughly did. It was amazing. So
Thank you.
thank you so much. Bye. So, if you like the content of this podcast and you're getting a lot out of it, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe, leave a comment, let us know how this chat landed for you, and share so that more people can get this type of information out there. With that, I leave you with so much love and light for you. Until next time. Bye bye.